All right, how are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
Good. Always, I've been doing this for quite a while since 91. I think I've maybe interviewed you once or twice, but it's been a while. Always a pleasure to interview you.
You're not tired of me?
I'm not tired? No, no, you're the one doing all the work. So,
I said you're not tired of me.
oh no, I'm not tired of you at all. Not tired of you at all. You know, first off, just I was listening to a previous interview and you were talking about when you began as a writer, your father gave you some really great advice on screenwriting. And now years later, what is the key to writing a successful script? Because this film is it's an epic Western, a lot of history, like you said, a lot of edutainment, a lot of characters, and also a lot of great themes behind it. So, what was that undertaking for you like, just writing it from pen to pad, you know?
That's a good question. First of all, I have in the early stages, it starts with my voices. They come to me usually around 2:30 or 3 in the morning. And one is very enthusiastic, my enthusiastic Mario. So he comes first and he goes, Duh, I got an idea. You got to write this down. And then he does that. And then my other guy, my pessimistic mind, goes, "Oh, that's not that. I feel like I've seen that before. I don't know. It would be too expensive to do." Then my other guy goes, "Hey man, don't make no edits yet. Just put it down." So my different voices debate. Okay, so it's not like one singular cohesive voice. It's a collective, right? And I give way to it, and I understand it. So I let all the voices argue. I put these different things down, and I look at it in the morning, and it doesn't make as much sense to me in the morning. And then, but little by little, it starts to come, and I'm surprised by it. I don't know what voices, what people are going to do, what characters are going to do. As an actor, my best acting is reacting, and as a writer on the page, I'm sometimes going, "Wow, if this character says that, and then what would I?" And this other one does this. I'm surprised by it, and so I don't. I leave room for the magic and the discovery. And then when actors come in, and Alan Payne comes in to play a role, and he's playing a guy that has been taught that a black man will have no respect at all in America in 1908 if he doesn't have money, and he finally gets a chest of gold. What does that do to his psyche? Do you know what I mean? So even in a small role like that, or a role that's not, there's no small roles, it's just small actors. But even in a role like that, I like to see and learn something about that character. William Mapother's character is the antagonist in Outlaw. I like the complexity that Angel has, that the William Mayfield and the William Mapother attitude, that he's a bit of a, he's got an environmental sort of perspective. He's clearly sadistic. He's got a love for classical music, and he's a bit of a Christian nationalist. You know, and you go, "Oh, that," and he's got one hand. You know what I mean? So he can never play the violin. So it's sort of, I love interesting characters. The Carson character, who's sort of written with Mike Tyson in mind, that he's this big tough guy, but he has this affinity and this dynamic and this understanding of nature. And he like Mike Tyson had pigeons. This guy has a little canary that he keeps with him.
Yeah.
So I love characters, and I like to create them, write them, and play them.
I love cinema. Obviously, you're passionate about cinema too, but how much does it mean to you that years back you had Woody Strode and Posse, you're connecting that generation with the Westerns, you're putting diversity in Westerns with Posse and also making people go back to look at Woody Strode's work. And then now, years later, here with Outlaw Posse, you're connecting even a newer generation of people to really get passionate about Westerns. They can watch John Ford, Sam Peckinpah, but they can also watch your films and realize that the West is all about diversity as well and people working together for a common goal. How much does that mean to you personally and as an artist to do that?
Well, I think that's a big part of it. Is that it we realize that it took Americans of all colors to build this country, right? That we all have to take pride in it. And Dr. King said we learn to live together as brothers and sisters, or we perish together as fools. So I wanted to show that the real West was far more diverse. Almost 1 out of 3, 1 out of 4 cowboys was black. The first 44 settlers of Los Angeles, 26 were African American. And it was interesting when I did Heartbreak Ridge with Eastwood, he knew some of that history and we talked about it. And then he did Unforgiven and put Morgan Freeman in that film, right? And so going into it, I knew that the very name cowboys came from black people. That in black men were referred to as boys, and that black men were referred to as boys, and that we got the tough job. So they'd say, take care of the horses, boy, take care of the chickens, boy, take care of the cow, boy. And once Hollywood started to glorify cowboys, we weren't brought in to play those roles. In fact, the white guys that were brought in played sometimes historically black characters, and sometimes played our Native American brothers and sisters as well. So in the early Westerns that you probably saw and I saw, if you weren't a white male, you were kind of marginalized. Women were pale and frail and needed rescuing. Native Americans only good engine with the dead engine. Black folks were scared of shuffling. The Asian guy was usually a deferential houseboy. And so I wanted to show a Western and say, no, man, the Asians built the railroad. The Native Americans were here. Black folks were here. Long before women could even vote, there was women like Stagecoach Mary running her own stagecoach through Montana. She had a big cigar, a big gun, and that's played by Whoopi Goldberg. And then at the end, show the pictures of the real folks that we're playing, and it's kind of interesting that we got pretty close, including even little roles like the Asian guy who dreamt of having a restaurant. And at the end, you find out, and this is the real thing, he's playing his great grandfather, and he runs the longest owned Chinese restaurant in Montana.
That was a like wow moment for me to watch it.
Right.
It's
pretty
really
exciting, right?
Mario, you've had such a successful career as a filmmaker and actor and creator, but I'm just thinking as a cinephile, this project must have been so hard to do because you don't have $100 million budget and you still make your movie visually immersive and you have really great acting from your ensemble, but it's just the kind of awesome spectacle that you and I grew up on. How do you do that as a filmmaker? And plus, you're shooting yourself along with the ensemble. What's the unlock to actually doing all of that?
That's a really good point. So part of, when you grow up on a family farm, you learn how to feed the chickens, take care of the North 40, take care of the horses. It's all part of the Zen of farming. And when you grow up in the Van Peebles family, editing, directing, producing, acting, writing, it's all part of the Zen of filmmaking. It's only later on that you realize that we sort of cut these things up and people go, well, that's my lane. You can't go in my lane. That's your lane. That's his lane, which I get. But my first inclination is to just jump in and help achieve a vision, whatever that vision is. So I love, one of the things I have is I try to be an efficient filmmaker, probably because I've grown up doing it with my own money, right? The family's money. So I want to put it all on the screen. So if you give me $10, I want to make it look like $20. I want to figure out all the shots as best I can and know that, best laid plans of mice and men, how that goes, right? God laughs, we plan, God laughs. So, but by and large, I'm an efficient filmmaker, and even more than that, I enjoy a good rhythm. I don't like to sit around all day on a set. I want to get it moving, get it up, and get people motivated and know that it's not my project, it's our project. And so when you get that sort of different collective energy coming together to form a vision, it's really exciting, and I'm able to say, okay, listen, for example, you're directing this interview from inside. My best acting is not just acting, it's reacting. I didn't know you'd ask me that question, right? You didn't feed me that question. I have no idea. But you're driving me in a way. And so if I'm in the scene with Whoopi Goldberg, I can help drive the scene to a strength. If I'm in the scene in Montana and they go, okay, we know we've got these beautiful mountains over that way, and maybe we've got an apartment complex back that way, right? I will tell my set decorator, I'm not going to go towards the complex. That didn't happen, but I'm going to go towards the mountains, obviously. Now that means that I have to talk with my DP and know what time the sun is going to light those mountains the best and light our actor the best. And we want that golden sort of, Maxfield Parrish backlight. What are we doing? What do we want? So I go in there saying, I want the beauty that this, I don't want to just make a Western, I want to make a big Western. I want to make a Western that travels from Mexico through California up to Montana. I want you to feel it. And then I want the biggest, best, smartest cast we can get. The opening frame with Cam Gigante and Neil McDonough and Emmett Walsh. Those three guys could carry a Western on their own.
That's a great
And
opening, by the way. That's like a Once Upon a Time in the West type of opening, right?
oh, totally, man. So I'm having fun with, and I break it into acts. So that whole first act is sort of a tip of the hat to Leone, maybe a little John Ford, but a lot of Leone, obviously.
Yeah.
And by act two, during the whole bank robbery, some of that happens all in one shot. So it's not even a cut,
Yeah.
right? So you go, whoa, this is no joke. That means not only do I have to be on good terms with my son, I've got to be on good terms with his horse. Because if he doesn't run in and say dad quick enough, I ain't getting my ass out of it.
Yeah.
So part of it is saying, okay, now then second act, the camera's going to start to move and have a vision. The third act, from the time we sit down with the Native Americans, they say, okay, we're going to let you pass through our territory, but you can't go through as Africans with white man names. You're going to have to get your spirit name. We go, oh, this is about to get messy. And so from that point on, the camera goes, ooh, ooh. Or more like this, ooh. Right? And so what I do as a filmmaker is I take you inside the trip with us. You know what I mean? So that you're watching first. Okay, you've adjusted. I get it. It's the old Leone Ford kind of thing. Then, oh wait a minute, second act. Now it's kind of shifting gears. And by the third act, you're like, holy shit, this is just going.
Mark,
I like something that builds, that has a rhythm to it. And I love motion picture and beauty. I like putting things on. I don't want to be bored as a viewer, nor as a storyteller. I want it to have a forward lean and yet learn something in each frame.
Final couple questions, Mario. Maybe I'm overshooting right now, but with around the era of, maybe I'm thinking New Jack City, Posse, you could have carved out a career where you could, and no disrespect, you could have been completely Hollywood system, do studio movies, be the A-list actor, work under all these different studios. But it seems to me, just as a cinephile, that you carved your own path where you balance both sides. And is that because these are lessons you learned from your father, or maybe you learned it was something ingrained in you? You talked about building and rhythm, but maybe the rhythm of your life is about carving your own path and finding your own voice through different avenues, as opposed to one specific road which will lead you to that gold in the mountains. You looked for something else. Am I overshooting on this?
No, you're asking pretty in-depth, what we call old soul questions. So I think what you have to do, I hope people do, is ask yourself, what does success feel like to you? What would be successful? What would that look like? And for some people, it's, I'm going to be in the business so I can be famous. All right, fair enough. I'm going to be in the business so I can make lots of money. Cool. I'm going to be in the business because I want to meet chicks. I never met chicks in high school. I want to meet chicks. Okay. All right, I want to be in the business so I can be powerful. Okay. For me, I'm not a bling guy. I don't want more house. I don't want more car. I don't want more clothes. I got a big hat and a big head. I want to make good movies. I want to make films that, for me, there are three loves. Love what you do, and I do. I love the business I'm in. Love and enjoy the folks you do it with. And I love what you say with your work. So I'm pretty simple that way. So if that means a big studio movie, should that happen? Cool. But if it doesn't, I'm still unstoppable, because my mother gave me a sense of self and love and thought I could do anything. And I'm probably naive enough to believe her if I put my mind to it. And my dad, so she showed me the mountain, right? She showed me the mountain. And my dad taught me how to climb it. And so I'm not afraid to do it myself. Now, if I do it independently, like I did Outlaw Posse, I can put the money all on the screen and make a big budget studio looking movie. But because I didn't dumb it down and I didn't take studio notes and I didn't water it down in any way, I made the movie I wanted to make. I won't have big billboards. You won't see Outlaw Posse on big billboards and big ads. And that's why it's so important that I get to talk to folks like you, because we vote with our ballot, we vote with our dollar, and we vote with our voice. And if people use their voice and they go out and see it Friday, March 1st, when it comes out, great. We'll see more edutainment, not just Marvel movies and little independents. We'll see more movies that feel like movies, but have filmic elements to them. And that's my hope, that I can say, if I can build it with love for all, make this gumbo, this wild Western, love for all, hopefully they will come. And
Yeah.
we will be able to laugh at ourselves. And when was the last time you saw a white guy and a black guy robbing a bank and watching Sundance and was his white face? Doesn't happen every day. You'll see it in a minute, people, hopefully. And I wanted the movie to be gritty and real because I liked it. I didn't want to make sort of a glossy rebuttal film. I'm not interested in that either. I wanted to be a real Western.
Yeah.
And we know how to ride and we know how to shoot. And no one got hurt, by the way. And no four-legged friends got hurt either. And that was, and make something that excites America in a voting year. And if we think when we watch a film, maybe we'll think when we vote.
Mario, my final question to you is, after watching Outlaw Posse, what movie from your directing body of work would you recommend our fellow cinephiles to watch, that like a movie from yours that you feel might be overlooked or underrated, that you would like to, after they love Outlaw Posse, check out as well?
Thank you. That's a great question. I would say there are two. One is Panther, and that's a very hard movie to find. It's almost like the prequel to New Jack City. It's a movie that my dad wrote and produced, and I directed and produced. And it's about the Black Panther Party's rise to power in Oakland and what happened to them. And we asked the question in Panther, why is it that you don't have poppy fields in the ghetto and you don't have gun manufacturing plants in the ghetto, and yet you can get guns and dope there easily? How does it get in there? And the minute you follow the money chain, it goes out of black hands very quickly. And that's the questions you're not supposed to ask. Follow the money. So I would say watch Panther. The other movie that's a lot of fun that really sort of has a little fun with the gun industry and the whole Second Amendment issues is a movie called Armed. And they say nothing stops a bad guy with a gun like a good guy with a gun. Well, in Armed, I play a good guy with too many guns. And he's on the no-fly list. He's got easy access to weapons of war and easy access to medication. But he's a good guy. So what could go wrong? So I would say watch Panther and watch Armed.
Yes, really loved Outlaw Posse. Mario, thank you so much for your time. Really loved it.
My dad would say early in bed, early to rise.
That's
We're glad you advertise.
that's amazing. That's
Have me
amazing.
on, man. All right.
That's awesome. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
I look forward to talking to you the next time.